I know some parents ask in terms of the first day of school, kindergarten, how do they know who their teacher is going to be in September? What does that look like? Do they find out that information beforehand as well?
So it's different from school to school, but typically that information would be shared on the first day of school. Some schools may actually post the class names inside the building, so the last week of August you could go into the school and find out what class your child was in. But really what you need to know is on the first day of school, it's all hands on deck. Every staff member is available to support all children to get to the classroom they need to be in. And they're there to be supportive of families as well.
Nice, okay. Let's talk about some of the things families can do in terms of preparing for that first day. And some of the anxiety sometimes that can be associated with it. So one of our parents had asked, I have a son who doesn't like to be left anywhere else but with mommy. If he starts kindergarten and cries a lot, can I stay with him until he gets used to being left there? How do I know my child is ready for kindergarten?
Absolutely. We invite all families to come into the kindergarten program. Families are an integral part of our program, and when children see the positive communication between the educator and the family, it sends that sense of well-being, and we create a safe haven for that child. And we know that sometimes it's difficult for families to come into the classroom on the first day of school and they're leaving their child. Rest assured that, again, to educators, we have that opportunity to spend time to support that child, like with the nurturing and to hopefully make them stop crying.
I mean, let's face it, it is a big transition for the children, but it's also a transition for the parents. This might be the first time that, you know, your precious gift you're going to leave with us, and which we believe the same thing. We want to do the best that we can to care for the child. And so if that means that parents are more comfortable staying to comfort the child, then they're welcome to do that. And they're welcome to do that on the second day if they need to, and they're welcome to do that on the third day if they need to. And eventually the child does become more comfortable as time goes on. But we really want to build in that understanding that parents are welcome to stay.
And rest assured, we won't leave your child crying. There are many of us, like Kathy Roper mentioned, there is a lunchroom supervisor, which is another additional adult in the classroom. And there's always somebody there to support the child to overcome their anxieties and their just being scared of being a big boy or a big girl.
And to know it doesn't have to happen all in one day. Mm-hmm. That it's a process, and we're all there to support that. And there will come the day, most likely, when your child will say, "Bye, mommy, see you later," because they're ready to be there.
Yeah. We had a question come in from a parent about potty training. So their child is potty trained, but is there going to be support available in case the child needs that additional support?
Again, absolutely. Throughout the day, there's many opportunities to have bathroom breaks. And as educators, once we get to know your child, we'll know, okay, this child really needs to go to the bathroom at a particular time of the day. And in the event that they do have an accident, there are opportunities for one of the educators to just guide that child, pull your pants down, take off your shoes, pull your pants down, and obviously, in some situations, we may have to call the parent because we don't have the facilities to bathe the child, but most generally, we do support the child. We will not let your child sit in soiled clothing throughout the day.
But I know often parents are worried right now, it's January, that your child won't be starting school until September. There's a lot of time in that period of time, a lot can happen. But absolutely, the team is there to work with you. We often ask that parents send extra clothing for children. So we have a backup set should there be an accident.
Perfect. And as Kathy mentioned, now is if your child is starting school in September and you know that they're not quite there with their toileting, now is a really good time to just maybe put some routines in place and say, okay, school day generally begins between 8:30 and 9, and if I'm dropping the child off at 8, I'm going to have a little washroom break with them. And if you find that they're soiling themselves, pull-ups are great because it gives them that little bit of independence where they can pull the pull-up up, but it also allows for their clothing not to get wet as well.
Perfect. And that ties in perfectly to the next question in terms of you, Kathy, you mentioned, now is January, students might be starting in September. So what can families do from now until then to help prepare their child for kindergarten?
I think being positive about the change and being excited about starting kindergarten is one thing that families can do. Continue reading with them, showing the joy in reading, possibly look at things like flyers together, grocery shop together, develop a lot of that oral language with them, speak to them. Play games.
And know that in the Peel board we have a special event we call Start with a Smile that occurs in May and June of every school year, and every school sets their own date for it. But families are invited to come with the child, and they get a sense of what's happening in the classroom. And so there's a whole program that lasts for about an hour and a half, and invitations are provided for that. Often when children are actually registering, that's when they get the invitation.
Children come to kindergarten with so many skills already, and we honor that. And we meet the child at the developmental level that they're at, and we build on those skills. So if you're worried, oh my gosh, my child's not ready for kindergarten, rest assured there are so many things that they're probably doing right now that they're so ready for kindergarten. And as Kathy mentioned, the only criteria really that they need is to be at a certain age. So not to worry.
Perfect.
And once registered, parents will receive a little package, and in there is a little booklet providing some suggestions on things that they can do, and also giving some more information about the kindergarten program.
So what kind of things are in that booklet? Like some of the activities, is it just for children? Is it kind of collaborative ones for families to do with their child?
For families to do with their child, and it's just the very things that we have just been talking about now, and just those day-to-day experiences that would help their child with the transition to kindergarten.
Yeah. And it's probably things that they're already doing, like blowing bubbles, for example. And when you're blowing the bubbles, what might the conversation be that you're having with your child when that is happening?
Yeah. And I know, Noreen, you were talking the other day about meeting that family in the office, and the parent was concerned that their child wasn't ready. And then within a couple of minutes of even talking to the child, you were able to can you share with us what you kind of discovered? Or I know you mentioned like you learned so much about this, what the student was interested in.
Right. So, for example, last year when I was, a couple of years ago when I was in a kindergarten program, and just meeting the family in the office, and they were nervous. It was their first child going to school, and I just mentioned to them, I said, look at your child, look at all the, already I've been watching this child, and he was looking at a book while we were having a conversation, and turning the pages of this book beautifully and pointing out certain things. I think as parents, we worry that because we expect the children to be to know their numbers and their letters and their ABCs and all of those academic things, but think about all of the play that they're engaged in at home. We talked earlier about the puzzles and shape recognition, and then Kathy had spoken about the literacy connection to that. They're already demonstrating so many competencies, and when they come to us, they're a gift. They're amazing, and like I mentioned earlier, we receive the child at what they can do and look at them through an asset lens opposed to what they can't do.
I think to reframe the question now is, we are ready for your children, and we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that they have a wonderful transition to school.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kathy. So we had a question come in from a parent asking, my child doesn't speak or understand English. How can he communicate with the teachers until he gets the language? Is there any advice?
So there's a lot of ways that they communicate. Children are always communicating, and it's not always through words, right? So our facial expressions and gestures, the way children interact with one another, We value the first language, absolutely, and so very often there may be another child or children in the classroom that speak the first language that are also a help in helping with communicating, and the same with educators. Sometimes we may have an educator who speaks that child's language, which also helps. So we want to send the message that as they are learning English, we value that first language as well. So the communication does happen, and it doesn't always start off with English, but remember, it's a 2-year program. So over those 2 years, it's amazing how quickly they acquire the oral language and the speaking skills, and how their vocabulary develops over those 2 years.
And families that are new to Peel, where would they would be able to register? Just for anyone that's watching that's new to Peel, they can register by going to the school directly. So if you go on www.peelschools.org, there is a Find Your School tool, and you can find information on there in terms of putting in your home address and finding your closest elementary school, and then from there being able to go into the school to have assistance with registration. And like Kathy mentioned earlier, the forms are available online, so you can find those and then be able to fill it out before. There is a checklist, so it'll give you exactly what you need in terms of immunization, the documents that you need to bring, and being able to get ready. So when you come into the office, it's an easier process for you as well.
I think just to build on that now, the importance of building the documentation that needs to be had. And I know people can find it online, but just so you need proof of your child's age, proof of address, as well as proof of immunization or exemption from immunization.
Yep. And a parent had asked, so in terms of proof for vaccines or immunization, do they need it before they register or before the start of the first day?
Before the start of the first day. The child cannot attend school until that paperwork has been processed by the school office.
Okay, perfect. And in terms of immunizations as well, you can submit it online through the Peel Public Health website as well, or provide copies in person, or an exemption form, as Kathy mentioned as well. Thank you. Let's talk about some allergies in the classroom in terms of how our educators and classroom support that. So a parent had asked, my daughter is allergic to all nuts and fish. At daycare, her EpiPen is carried by one of the teachers. In Peel, where are the EpiPens left during school hours?
So there's actually in the Peel Board, we have a very extensive guidelines for anaphylaxis and a process and the procedures that we follow. The EpiPen itself is to be on the child, no matter what age the child is. And I think of 2 occurrences at the school where I was last principal with children in kindergarten who actually did have a reaction, and we did need to administer an EpiPen. It was so much easier when they were wearing a fanny pack with the EpiPen right in that. And when I know fanny packs may be still available, people may have them around. I know they're not as easy to get as they once were, but you can get a specific belt for your EpiPen as well. And I was Googling it recently online, and you can actually get it free from some places. They range in price anywhere from $10 to $40. But again, when I happened to Google a couple weeks ago, there was one there where you could get it for free. You just sent away proof that you bought the EpiPen, and they'd send you 2 of the belts. And they have different sizes of belts. So when the child is little, like they are in kindergarten, it's much smaller than an adult size. So it's critical that the child has it on, because our goal is safety of all children. And the way we can keep your child most safe is by having easy access to the EpiPen. If it is being held by an educator or in the office, the time that's wasted to get the EpiPen could be the difference that is needed to make sure your child is safe.
In the kindergarten classroom, when the child is wearing the EpiPen, it's also a teachable moment for the other children in the room as well. So there will be an opportunity for the educators just to have that discussion with the rest of the children, and just to highlight why this, not to put the child on the spot, but just as a teaching moment, so that the other children are aware of the importance of why we also, if let's say for example, if it's a nut allergy, why we're not bringing peanuts into the classroom as well. And it's so the children then become the educators for the families as well, because then they go home and they might say, little Johnny has a peanut allergy, mommy, I can't have these cookies because it has peanuts in it. So it's an onus for like everybody somehow takes responsibility to keep that child safe.
And it's a whole school approach. There's training for all staff annually, once or twice a year, to make sure that everybody knows how to use it. But most important is that everybody's aware that allergies are a reality in 2020. And we need to do everything we can to eliminate the risks. Now, we can't remove them all, but we do everything we can to be really careful and aware of what's coming into the schools.
Yeah, and further to what Noreen was saying, I mean, they really do, once they understand, they really do care about each other's well-being. So they're looking out for each other as well, which is another really important part.
We had a question come in from a parent. What should our child know how to do independently to be prepared for kindergarten?
Like we've mentioned earlier, we receive the child at the developmental level that they're at, and we embrace all the competencies that they are capable of doing. And I think that not to stress our families out, I don't think that if your child is having difficulty and can't put the shoes on, not to worry. Again, there's two educators. We can always communicate to, the educators always communicate, okay, which child needs a little bit of extra support, and we're always there for the children. In terms of even just putting on their outdoor clothing, there's always somebody there to help them. But we're also teaching them as well. You know, like I'll say, okay, Miss Jaffrey's going to put the little zipper together and you can try and pull it up, so we're helping them as well. I don't think that, as parents, I don't think that we should be stressing that, oh my gosh, my child's not ready for school.
Yeah, but those are things that, you know, with a little bit of practice also at home, if we're looking at things to help, doing up the zipper, identifying which shoe goes on which foot, and then feeling for comfort. For children that have, if they have Velcro straps, they're much easier. However, if they have laces, again, there's always an educator to help with that. But as children get older, that's another task that they learn to do for themselves.
Just to go back to your question, I've just thought of something. So parents asking what they can do. So when you're purchasing school supplies in terms of shoes, Serge mentioned the Velcro. So Velcro versus laces are more ideal to help the child to be successful. So they put their own shoes on, they can do the Velcro, and it's a sense of accomplishment. And as well as clothing, sweatpants are easier opposed to the jeans with the belt. And again, it all boils down to helping the child to be successful.
And also now, when it comes to eating. So supporting your child by, often we will use reusable containers and we send snacks to school in reusable containers. They can be really difficult to take the lid off. So giving your child an opportunity to practice doing that independently. So, and they might spill, but that's okay.
Perfect, thank you. In terms of bus schedules or getting ready for the first day, we had a parent ask, you know, when do they find out information about busing for that first day, and how do they prepare for it?
So in terms of the information about particular busing and what the route is, that information would be available at the end of August, the last week of August, at their school.
Perfect.
Also in August, though, there's an orientation to riding the bike, riding the bus, and that's provided. There's a date and it gets posted. It's in August, and it's by Stop, or the company that puts together the bus schedules with the board.
So they'll have an orientation, walk you through what the first day looks like, what to do at the bus stop, how families can support that transition as well. And then at the school, the educators are also available once a bus does come on the first day to welcome the families and the students as well. So we had a question, and let me know if you can answer it. Otherwise, we'll get back to the participant. How and when do we register for after school or before school care and programs?
So as soon as possible. So once you know that you're registering your child for school, at the same time, if you would, you need before or after school care through the program that's offered at your child's school, you should begin that process too.
So thank you so much for providing all that insight and sharing a glimpse of what kindergarten program looks like. And of course, we encourage families to visit their school as well if they have any additional questions. We really hope that you enjoyed today's segment, and we hope that we were able to provide some clarity on some questions that you might have had, learn some new information. You can always find more information on our website at peelschools.org/kindergarten. So even if you go on peelschools.org, there are links there to help support your child. If you're new to Peel, if you're looking for what information you need to register, or information in terms of, like Kathy mentioned, in May, Start with a Smile, or the first day of orientation for BUS as well. So supports are available and we're always here. And just want to say thank you to everyone for being here with us today. So thanks for tuning in. Take care and thank you again.